these forums. It's an honor anytime I get to share, and I'll share more about my story today. But and by the way, how long do you want me to talk for? I don't want to take over what's the ideal? How long do you want me to go here?
Yeah, so we have a meeting that's from 10:30 to 11:30, but I mean, I don't know if you want to do like 30 minutes and have Q&A or
Yeah,
what.
let's do that.
Okay.
I mean, because whenever I talk to audiences, I don't want to turn this into a one-sided conversation, folks. So if anything, because I'm here today, Travis asked me to come and just share, and this is the message I'm currently sharing all over the world with my Energy 100 program. I wanted to share, knowing that everyone here is a hard charger, everyone here is a high performer, everyone here is looking at metrics constantly. And I think everyone here knows that last year's amazing performance becomes this year's benchmark. Am I right? It doesn't relent. It's always the world asks more and more from us. And so one of the struggles with the high performers that I've worked with all over the world, and by the way, from different cultures too. So this isn't just something that happens in the United States. And that biggest struggle is the idea of trying to find work-life balance. Anyone here struggle with that idea? It's work-life balance. Everywhere I go, people talk about work-life balance. And for years, I worked with executives and CEOs and entrepreneurs and people like everyone here, and I discovered that actually balance is the wrong thing to chase. And I want to share with you how actually the power of intentional imbalance in your life is actually the tool that's going to bring you that success, the happiness, the fulfillment, the health, all those things that you want when you're willing to embrace imbalance. But to get started, I do this with audiences all over, and when I was speaking at what Travis was talking about, I want to challenge everybody here. And before I challenge you, I'm just going to let you know, I know you're all competitive. I've never lost at this particular challenge. And you'll see I have a huge advantage, but if you beat me, every audience, every stage I get on, I don't care where I'm at in the world, I will sing your praises. They will know your name if you beat me, because I've never been beat. Again, I got a huge advantage, but we'll see. So all you're going to do is I want you to put your hands up in the corner of your screen. Just like this. Now, is anyone here kind of ADD? Kind of one of those like, oh, squirrel. You kind of find it hard to focus sometimes. Okay, well, I want to help you with that a little bit. So I want you to put your hands up in the corner of the screen, not close. I want them right at the edge of the screen. Don't be cheating, because you're going to see what we're going to do. Put them right at the edge of the screen. When you see me go to move my hands together to clap, your job is to get your hands together faster than mine. All right, so that's all you're doing. Hands here. When you see my hands move to clap, you're trying to get your hands together faster than mine. So let's give it a try. Here we go. All right, now take that feeling you have right now. Take that focus. You can put your hands down. But that feeling of focus right there, what else were you thinking about? Were you thinking about checking your phone?
No,
Were you thinking, I mean, what were you thinking about for that brief moment?
that I wanted to beat
Watching
you.
Fletch.
But baby, you're in the
Watching
moment.
Fletch.
You wanted to hear your name on stages all over the world. But when was the last time you gave something important in your life that level of focus? When's the last time you gave your business that level of focus? Your family, your kids, your spouse, your partner, your friends, your health? I mean, how did that feel to be all in like that? You know, and as I work individually with high performers too, and really what it boils down to is that's what I'm trying to help them do in their lives. I mean, so many of us, there's everything. We are in the age of distraction. Would you agree? It's the age of distraction. If I can prove that I can distract you, if I can prove it with metrics that I can distract you, I become a millionaire. That's the way it works. Whoever owns distraction owns the market. And so we got literally millions of entities fighting for that. So we're constantly distracted all over the place. But somehow, within seconds, you're able to bring it all together. Now, in that moment, Was your focus balanced? It was completely imbalanced. Would you agree? You were all in where you weren't thinking about, okay, well, I'm going to look at this, but I got to make sure I'm listening for my phone and make sure I'm getting the, looking at and talking to this person and taking notes on here and checking this and looking at the news. We're imbalanced, folks. And we all said, well, wow, I heard somebody said, yeah, your vagus nerve was clamped down. We didn't have that hypervigilance. That's the type of energy. If we want to pursue greatness, and I don't care if pursuing greatness to you means growing the biggest business in your community. I don't care if pursuing greatness to you means being the best mother or father or friend or son or daughter or whatever you aspire to be. It's going to require these imbalances. And I want you to think about, as we're on this pursuit for your definition of success in your life, I want you to think about what I call a gold standard of you. So this is a moment in your life, a period in your life, sometime in your life where you showed up as what you would consider the gold standard of you for your physical health, mental health. Maybe this could have been like when you were in school. This could have been when you were opening your business. This could have been when you won some award. It could have been when you were sitting with someone you loved and you just sat and listened and were present. But I want you to think about a time in your life that brought significant meaning, that you're truly proud of. And go and just write down some notes on that. I want you to think about, when was it? What were you doing in your life? What was that like? Either a period or a moment in your life where you're the most proud of. So I'm just getting the wheels turning here. But go ahead and share, what were some aspects of that time of your life? And I'm talking zoom out. What were some aspects of that time in your life? Was it commitment? What were some of the aspects of that time in your life you're so proud of? Just go ahead and call them out.
Time organized, I guess.
Organize.
I'm trying to think of, organized.
So Jay, would intentional be so would prioritized, organized, prioritization, maybe intentionality.
Yes. And my name's Janice. They just call me Jay Nice, but it's really Janice.
Okay. Okay, Janice, thanks.
Like
How about
Jay.
anybody else? What were some components of this time in your life?
I think of tunnel vision.
Tunnel vision. You were all in.
Yep.
Trisha, so it wasn't a matter of, well, I'm going to try this for a little bit. And then this is important to me. And because of that, you got a lot of meaning from that. It sounds like this was a goal, like I said, a gold standard point of your life. Anybody else?
These moments that came to my mind, they always remind me of that Will Smith and that Pursuit of Happiness, where he just finally gets like the job and he walks outside and he's just got his arms in the air, because it's like you've been carrying this big weight and you're trying to get to the end zone and it's just a lot of work and you're like, did it, it's a relief, but it was like monumental, it was
So you're carrying a big weight. So were you carrying a lot of really tiny weights, or were you carrying that big weight and put it all in there?
Singular focus, one big boulder. For sure.
So here's what I heard, and this is typical. What I'm hearing is things like prioritization, intentionality, tunnel vision. The most meaningful points in your life, folks, are when you intentionally created imbalance. But the irony is, for some reason, we're being told that balance, we need to get all the little things. Just make sure that we spread our attention out and multitask and try to do multiple things at the same time. Yet when we look and we say, well, what has created the most meaning in our life? It's when we created this intentional imbalance. So understand that when you're looking for meaning in your life, if you're looking for meaning in your work, your road to meaning is creating intentional imbalance. Because imbalance creates meaning. So in other words, instead of work-life balance, seek work-life meaning. Because here's what happens when we try to balance everything. When we go into every day, and folks, we're going to have a lot of things we have to do every day. But when it's, okay, well, I'm going to do this, then get on my cell phone, then I'm going to go over here, and oh, my work's okay, kids, our family, or I'm going to do that. And everything is just sort of, I'm always trying to balance. So within that, I'm distracted. I try to balance the second I feel uncomfortable, the second I feel unhappy. I try, how can I balance this out? How can I get out of here? I'm not supposed to feel unhappy. I'm not supposed to feel anxious. I need to get out of here. So maybe it's a pill, maybe it's a drug, maybe it's a avoidance behavior. Maybe it's something in a relationship. Like, well, gee, I don't want to have this difficult conversation. Let's just dissipate it. Let's just create balance and sort of have these passive aggressive interactions or these surfacey conversations, but let's not dig into an actual relationship. Where in your life are you afraid of creating intentional imbalance? You know, we could look at our businesses and we have areas of our businesses that are inefficient, or areas of our businesses that are unprofitable, or areas of our business that are actually holding us back. And yet we're trying to do everything and do this, and well, I'll try to get to that. What if you just took a week and let everyone in your life know that, hey, this is what I have to do this week? You could write a book in a week. Think of what you could do if you were to create intentional imbalance for 2 days in your life. Think about these opportunities. Right now, I want you to think about where in your personal life, and by the way, when I hear people talk about work-life balance, I always ask them, okay, well, tell me about work. You know, what do you have to do? And they go, and it's this detail. Oh my gosh. They're like, well, I have this, and my committee is these people, and by Friday we have to get these initiatives done, and they're going to measure this and blah, blah, blah. And they have all these different things. Like, wow, your work is clearly defined. Now, what brings you meaning in life? Like, what if you have no work-life balance, what are you not getting in life? And then it goes into all these generalities. Well, me time, quality time. It's not specific. It's not intentional. It's not, you know what? Nature brings me fuel, so I make sure to get outside for 30 minutes every day. Or my family and I put our phones away every night at dinner. They're not creating, they're not being intentional and saying, okay, well, in order to create this overall idea of balance and meaning, I want to be all in. What can I do to be more all in at work? And then what can I do to be more all in life? So I want you to think about, where could intentional imbalance bring greater meaning to your work? What aspect of your business would benefit from some intentional imbalance? Let's go and write it down. What aspect of your work would benefit from you just saying, you know what? This has been in my craw. This hasn't moved forward. This is what I'm doing. And yeah, there's some other things that might not get done. They might not get done at 100%, but those busy work things don't need to be done at 100%. Imbalances come in different forms too. It might mean looking at something within your work, within your business, and saying, I got to get imbalanced financially right here. This thing is going to eat me alive over the next 2 years unless I invest right here. It might be a time investment. It's like, man, this system I've been trying to set up, and because I don't have this system, I have to hire too many people, or I have to use too much of my own personal time. So yeah, it's going to eat up your time for a bit. It's going to be difficult for a bit. So I want you to think about your personal life. Where could you be more intentional in your personal life? You notice how those moments of meaning in your life, They weren't on the days that you worked exactly 8 hours, had exactly 8 hours to sit and watch Netflix with your family, and had exactly 8 hours to sleep. Where could you be more intentional? Don't speak in generalities. Where could you look at your work and your personal life and intentionally decrease distractions? Get imbalanced with your focus. Get imbalanced with your emotional intention. Get more imbalanced physically. Work out harder. Work out more efficiently, more effectively, but then recover more efficiently, more effectively. Work on your business more effectively, more efficiently, with more focus. And then have quality time, quality energy with other things in your life that are important to you. But it's so critical that we define those things so we can create these temporary imbalances. Because when we don't, folks, when we try to balance everything, you know what we get? We get busy. And busy is not a metric of performance in any meaningful pursuit. I'll say that again. Busyness is not a metric of performance in any meaningful pursuit. When I speak, I mentioned that I speak, and if I'm doing a keynote or something like that, like at a luncheon or at everyone's in the auditorium, so I'll go and I'll have breakfast with the organizers, and when people will come and they'll sit at the table, we'll have conversations. And I've learned this about that term busy. When someone is sitting next to me telling me how busy they are, I know they're not a high-level leader. When someone wants to tell me how busy they are, I know they're not a high-level leader. Because when high-level leaders talk about what they're doing, it's not saying, oh, I'm busy, I'm so busy, I'm doing all this. This is what I'm doing, and this is why it's important. That's how leaders talk. That's how high-level leaders talk. It's not, oh, I got all this stuff, and it's just, because when we talk about how busy we are, we're just talking about, I'm doing just a bunch of stuff. I'm not breaking through homeostasis. And you look at what is homeostasis? Well, homeostasis is balance, but what doesn't happen in balance? Growth or movement. So when I work with people, there's three different things that we look at, because science has told us when we can create these strategic imbalances, you actually can improve your physiology, and we can actually grow structures within your brain. So when you were focusing on my hands there, your reticular activation system, an area of your brain, that caught its attention for whatever reason. I used the right words. You're competitive people. I talked about competition. I talked about recognition. I know how to hit your buttons. I talk to people like you. I hit those buttons. Your reticular activation system said, this is important. This is really important. So even if you're ADD, even if you can't focus on anything, it said, hey, focus on this stuff. So we can train these areas of your brain. We have your brain and your body. It starts in the body. Your biological base. When I work with people, we look at your biological base, because at our simplest level, we're made up of a bunch of cells. If those cells work the way they're supposed to, we can perform the way we want to. That's just as simple. And all of us in the fitness industry, that's what we do. We help people's cells perform the way we help people's cells perform the way they're supposed to, so they can feel and perform the way they want to. That's what we do. And it's because of this imbalance physically called hormesis. Has anyone heard of cellular hormesis, mitochondrial hormesis? Hormesis is essentially, it's stress, the right dose of stress you put on a cell. And really it's defined as this amount of stress that if it's too much, it hurts the organism. But if it's just enough, it creates improvements. That's what exercise is. So when you exercise, and by the way, the most efficient form they're finding with exercise, high intensity interval training, very effective, time efficient form of cellular hormesis, mitochondrial hormesis. I'd say make sure that's in there. Other things physically, cold water exposure, whether you're taking a cold shower or getting a cold tub, cellular hormesis. We can actually, because that's stress to the cell responds. Now, understand that stress is imbalance. It's response to change. It's response to imbalance. That's what stress is. That's also what training is. Training is an imbalance. So physically, and then those are the things we can do to create that hormesis, that stress, and then recovery is sleep. Obviously, that's not hormesis, but sleep is an imbalance. And if you struggle with sleeping, if your clients struggle with sleeping, well, it's because what are some of the things that stand in the way of sleeping? And even for us, just throw them out there. What are some things that get in the way of sleep?
Monkey mind.
The monkey mind. Absolutely. And by the way, what's the monkey mind trying to do?
What is the monkey mind trying to do? I don't know, distract me.
It's trying to balance everything out. It's trying to be hypervigilant. It's trying to say, okay, wait a minute, hold it. Okay, this might be going on. Wait a minute, no, oh, this might be going on. It's trying to think of all the different things. It's trying to balance everything out. Now, that's a natural tendency. Hypervigilant. Being hypervigilant, it's a natural tendency of humans. That's why we were able to stay alive when tigers were running around trying to eat us. But we can go into a state of hypervigilance where our brain's just listening to everything, paying attention to everything, trying to balance attention. I see caffeine. You know, this caffeine is something, you know, taking late day, trying to keep us up. I saw blue light. What's that?
Babies.
Yeah, babies. Not much we can do about that. But blue light, folks, why are we looking at screens before we go to bed? Why are we looking at screens? Why are we looking at blue light? It's because, well, gee, it's bedtime, but I need to go to sleep and get restful sleep, so I'll be better tomorrow, but I'm going to kind of check this and make sure this is right before bed. How can we be more intentional so we can create that imbalance so that bedtime means fall on your face and go to sleep? How can we create that imbalance where bedtime is peace? And you have to ask yourself that question. You know, think about what you would tell your kids about bedtime. I know what I tell my daughter about bedtime, and checking her emails is not part of it. Looking at social media is not part of it, and that's for a reason. I want to create an imbalance. I want her physiology or psychology to go from aroused to down. How could we create a better imbalance in the evening to get better sleep? So that's our body. Now, how can we create more balance more imbalance in our brain? Get more cognitive focus. And what are we talking about with our brain? Well, we're talking about our attentional resources. So there's the different areas of your brain, the anterior cingulate cortex, the anterior central cingulate cortex, areas that help you focus. Things like motivation. How can we be more focused and all in? These are cognitive imbalances. How can you create those in your life? How can we eliminate more distractions? How can we eliminate multitasking? And by the way, there is no such thing as multitasking. You can try to do two things at the same time, and I guarantee you they'll be crap. That's what the research, there's no data anywhere to support that doing two things at the same time is effective. Yet we try to do it. So how can you eliminate that? How can you eliminate distractions? How can you increase that hyper focus? There's ways to train that. Meditation are ways to train that. By the way, the way we train it, what is meditation? It's creating imbalance. It's we're blocking everything else out. We're not trying to see everything all at the same time. That's what focus is. Focus is an imbalance. Motivation is an imbalance. And then there's our emotional brain. We can create imbalance. And what are we talking about here? Well, we're talking about things like the hypothalamus pituitary amygdala axis, the HPA axis, which gives us information, and then we decide how we're going to respond emotionally. Now, here's what happens emotionally, folks. When we try to be emotionally balanced all the time and understand that, we don't want to be just on big highs and big lows emotionally, but all too often our take towards emotions that we experience is negative, because there's no negative emotions. Emotions are data, not indictment. They're information. But what happens is when you experience a negative emotion, whether we're anxious, we're fearful, we're angry, whatever it is, what's our first, how do I get rid of this? This sucks. I don't like cortisol. I don't like this. I don't like this feeling. How do I get out of this? Well, what do we know? What's the quickest way? Avoidance, vices, things that can give me a dopamine hit immediately. Drugs, alcohol, bad habits, expedient habits. That gets me out of there right away. It balances out our emotions. But what if we're willing to just say, wait a minute, I'm experiencing this emotion, and being aware of the emotion we're experiencing and not having judgment towards it. Again, it's data, not indictment. And looking at curiosity instead of a conviction. Why am I anxious right now? And a lot of the anxiety, the people I work with, they realize that most of the anxiety in their life has come from choosing flight instead of fight. So they find themselves in this fight or flight situation. They realize they've chose flight almost every time. They've chose avoidance. They've chose to have the petty argument instead of the courageous conversation. They've chose flight. Where are you choosing flight instead of fight in your life? Sometimes we need to lean into what our brain's telling us. Be willing to be imbalanced. Now, when we get stuck, if we get stuck feeling anxious and fearful all the time, if we get stuck feeling hopeless, that's where we have that awareness to say, wow, I'm stuck here. And we reach out and find help. But don't be afraid to feel emotion. Don't be afraid if you realize, oh, I'm anxious or I'm fearful. See that. It's data. That's interesting data. What does this mean for me? Lean into it. Let it be in balance for a moment. Take in that information and let it inform something. Say, wait a minute, this information, what's this telling me? So those are the ways that even science says, hey, we can change the way your physiology works. We can change the way your attentional resources work. We can change the way you respond to emotional information. But it's going to require these imbalances. It's going to require being all in. It's going to require experiencing things fully in the moment, decreasing distractions. And this comes at something significant that's happened in my life. And I found myself in speaking and writing, and those are the things I love to do. I've found my motivation behind that, my why behind it. I want to speak to crowds. I want to write. I want to share about my life. The why is I've realized that, yes, it's because I want to help people, but quite honestly, the selfish reason is that if something happens to me and I've learned something and I can share that, it brings meaning to whatever happened. It brings meaning to those things in your life, that in my life, and I'm like, why did this happen? It brings meaning to the trivial things in my life. I want to share a story of imbalance that's helped me over one of the toughest years of my life. So last November 2022, my family, I was with my family in the morning. It was a Sunday morning, and I had a huge deadline on Monday. So I'm sitting in front of my computer starting at 6 in the morning. And I'm working. And my wife was going golfing with some of her friends. My daughter was going off to the La Jolla Aquarium here in San Diego with my mom. My mom was down to visit. And came time, my wife is going to leave to go golfing, and I'm working. I'm locked in. I got this deadline tomorrow. I got a lot of work to do. I'm locked in. My wife says, okay, I'm leaving. I'm taking off. I love you. And we had these conversations. We both are very career focused, but we had these conversations about, let's not be the couple that just sort of like, oh yeah, fine, bye. Looking at our phones while we're at dinner. Let's have actual interactions. So she goes, bye, I love you. And I'm in the middle of this working, and something in me was like, okay, stop. This is a moment. Like, you get up and give her a hug and a kiss and say, I love you too. Let's create that imbalance. Let's get imbalance. Let's not try to balance out work and life. Let's stop this for a second. I got up and I walked across the room, I gave her a hug and a kiss and said, I love you too. I love you too. And those are the last words I got to say to my wife. When she went golfing, she was perfectly healthy. She had a heart abnormality that had never been diagnosed. And she dropped dead on the golf course. Left behind a 10-year-old daughter. And over the last year, the dark place that I've had to live, I'm finding myself in survival mode more than ever in my life. And the wave of emotions, feelings, doubts, fears, it gets unbearable. But I'll tell you the one thing that I don't live with, and that's regret. Because we'd made it that a mantra. Let's not just balance everything. Let's be intentionally imbalanced for the things that are important to us. The last words to my wife were, I love you too. So I share that with you because it's something that I've learned that's brought significance. It's changed the way I see things. It's set my path for the rest of my life. And if that can bring you peace anywhere in your life, that ability to live with intentional imbalance, don't seek balance. Let the average seek balance. Let the miserable masses seek balance. Let the busy people seek balance. Seek meaning, folks. And meaning comes from those intentional imbalances. So thank you for having me out, Travis. I hope that that idea, and as you go forward again as high performers, the way that we create meaning, because for high performers, really, meaning is what we're going after. I think that we all agree. Meaning comes from those intentional being all in. Thank you.
Wow, Brett. Wow. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I don't know if you can unmute and, like we got, oh gosh. Wow. Brett, that was awesome. That was awesome. I got a lot of notes going on over here, and thank you for just sharing and being vulnerable and letting what you've been through, be a lesson to us as well. It takes a lot to be able to get to the point to where you can share that and share it as vulnerably and courageously as you do. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I love that you use the word meaning, putting purpose and meaning. I just, my very good friend lost her son last weekend, so spent some time in that, like finding meaning and having anybody that's a parent knows and feels that, like, personalize it. It's, my son. But yeah, so I think that whole, like, why are we here? What's going on? Like that message of like putting meaning to everything, right? And certainly loss. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, thank you.
So I want to add, Brett, I want to thank you again because, and just so you know that, like you are, just from your presentation at the mastermind in San Diego that we were just at, your talk really resonated with me. And I was talking to a good friend of mine this weekend over dinner, and he has a coach. Bedros is his coach, and he's constantly complaining about, like, his EFT is not growing, his business isn't growing. So Bedros said, listen, like, you've got to, like, stop doing Spartan races, stop doing like all these, like, Ironman trainings and things that are distracting you away from what your intentions are, and don't do another thing until you reach this bench point in your business. And I told him, I said, I listened to this gentleman speak at the Todd Durkin thing, and like what you need to really do is create intentional imbalance, and you just need to focus on that metric and that number, And so I just wanted you to kind of, again, sometimes it feels good when your words have lingered into somebody, and I've actually shared them with somebody else. And I'm actually going to follow up with this dude today because we were kind of in a group dinner, and I didn't really want to hammer into him, but I'm definitely going to, follow up with some of the things that you've taught. So this is gold, man. I really appreciate this, and I want to thank you for your time to do this.
Well, thank you, Matt. Well, and you bring up a good point, and here's probably what your friend's going to hear. Because in speaking to audiences all over, this is the pushback I get. Your friend's gonna hear, you mean I can't ever do, well, my health, that's what I love to do. I mean, Ironman triathlons and Spartan race, that's what I like to do. You're telling me I have to give all that up. Well, if I have to give all that up, then you're not saying you have to give it all up. But for a period of time, think about how much you can move your life forward if you went all in on this thing. And then you can, once you get all that going, then you can pick it up, and then you can do triathlons without the guilt of not being able to make EFT, things like that. So it's, people hear these absolutes.
That's exactly right on, because there are a couple people that were saying, oh, but the things you enjoy, you don't have to be all or nothing. And like, he does this podcast, he's got like 5 followers. It's just like, dude, like the podcast, like you gotta build your base before you go and do a podcast. Travis probably didn't do a podcast till he had 5,000 followers, right? So you don't just do these things to get followers, right? So I said, these are kind of like distractions from what you really need to be doing. Again, I know you really enjoy it and you really love it, but I'm sure you love being able to support your family a little bit more and making better income, right? So you got to think of what you love more, Spartan races or supporting your family, right? So there's going to be like some give and some intentional imbalance there, right? So perfect.
Well, and another thing I tell people too, those things that like scale is a thing. So let's say there's something you're like, oh man, I can't go fishing. Like, you're telling me I can't go fishing. You're telling me I can't do this. All I have to do is do all my business or work in my relationship, whatever it is. And it's like, well, maybe you can't do Ironmans. Maybe you could do sprint. If you really like triathlon, does it have to be the Ironman? Or if you really like something else, does it have to be hiking in the woods for 6 hours every weekend? Could you find a 20, 30-minute version of that still fits in your life? And again, and I think we're trained to think in these absolutes, because if I can get everyone here believing in these complete absolutes, I sound like I have the answers, right? And so it's a matter of like, well, yeah, for maybe 8 weeks, this is what you do. You make this your life. And then you're forward. You're in a different place than you were 8 weeks ago. Or you could try to balance everything out and just say, oh, every day you need to have this. And, oh, no, that's a lie. And by the way, I've never met anyone a high performer that talks about how amazing their work-life balance is. It's because they're always trying to chase it. They're always talking about how they're busy. It's like, listen, the things that we're proud of came as a result of being all in.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anybody else questions or? It's tough. It sounds like, I know that all those different things that come at us on a daily basis, and it's so hard to say, well, how can I just get all in on something? I'll tell you what, it's not like you're not going to feed your kids. It's not like you're going to do the things you got to do. How can you heighten your focus and your attention on those needle movers?
Yeah. It's similar, we're all in the fitness industry. So it's what you were just talking about. For some reason, my mind went towards how some people might approach trying to get to their optimal peak physical conditioning, yet they still want to allow other things in. Yeah, but, I'll just have like this little time on the weekend, or, and then suddenly, their few pounds of weight loss for the week goes down to 2 pounds of weight loss. Well, I'll just have this one thing. Now it's 1 pound. Now it's no weight loss for the week. And it's because they didn't just get intentionally imbalanced and just go all in and say, you know what? I'm swearing off alcohol for this period of time. I'm only going to eat proteins and vegetables. I'm going to work out 6 days a week, like intentionally imbalanced, but all in. And then 8 weeks from now, where are we at? Right.
Well, but again, it goes to, well, I want to be, and again, in using the fitness examples, I want to be shredded. I want to be abnormal, right? I want to be abnormal. I'm not just talking about healthy. They're not saying, hey, I just want to be healthy. They're saying, I want to turn heads. So you're like, well, that's awesome. That's going to require a huge imbalance. And then they have the pie and the ice cream on the weekend. Well, you have to enjoy life. No, you don't. If you have a specific thing that you're going to do, but here's the thing with most of our clients in the fitness world, in all honesty, just doing stuff like their quote balanced level of fitness, where they're just kind of doing a little bit here and there, is going to keep them afloat.
Mhm.
It's gonna be way better than anything else. It's gonna improve their health. And sometimes they don't know what to ask for. They don't know what to ask for. They're like, I want a six pack. I don't know what else to ask for. They're like, I guess that's what you're supposed to do when you go to a personal trainer. They're sort of doing a little bit of everything is gonna be fine from a health standpoint. But once you lock in, or even you with your health, no. I mean, I've been shredded for the cover of a book before, and unfortunately, I learned a lesson about pictures never die on the internet. So it's everybody, including my daughter and her friends, have access to that. But it was terrible. It was imbalanced. It it wasn't health, I wouldn't say, for 8 weeks. But I got that result. And then I went back. So it's like with it, but with our businesses work the same way. And
Well, is
that's
it because the person doesn't like when you just said about being shredded or what? Like, I still think for people like really getting to the, the root of like what is the meaning of that? Like maybe it's because that
100%.
really doesn't mean that much.
And
It's
that's
just
a total
something that we think we should be, right? I got to be shredded. I got to be this or whatever. That physical, like we're talking about like what you just said, like it's the meaning of it, so
percent.
what's your purpose? Is that your purpose, is to be shredded? Like what does that do? And maybe it
Yeah.
doesn't hold enough meaning for people, so maybe
Yep.
that's not what you should be focused on. Maybe
Mm.
it's something
Well,
else.
100%. And I think we all know this from being a personal trainer. You know who I'm the best personal trainer in the world for? You know who I got the best results? And I worked with pro athletes and divorced people and people getting ready to get married.
Hmm.
I mean, it's something magic. I'm a magic personal trainer when it comes to people
Yeah.
fresh off a divorce looking to get into the dating field and people looking to get married. I was a magic trainer for that. It must be because I'm such a good trainer, right? No,
Meaning.
because they had a burning reason. And so they were able to go. So again, we take that from our clients, but apply it to your business. Apply it to the things in your life that are stuck in your craw. You're just like, man, this is kind of, oh, if I could just move through this, if I could just do this. What could move you forward? Where could you be more committed? Where could you be more imbalanced, really? But yeah, great point.
It's so good. So good. Brett, I had a few people that couldn't make it. One had a children's concert and stuff, but I'm glad I recorded this because there's so many awesome gems in here today for ourselves as we move forward into the new year. One thing that this call all has in common is a GSD planner, right? Like where do you need to be strategically in balance so that you can go after that goal? It's really good.
Mhm. Well, and create seasons. Just like you can be strategic about, I'm gonna throw my phone out the door and lock myself in a cabin for 3 days and get this work done. Well, then where's the plan to be with your family for 2 days, or do a retreat by yourself for a day? Or it's finding those, being intentional about as many things you can be intentional about, the more things you can get meaningful. So
I have one final question. I'll
yes,
share with the
sir.
group that I deleted my Facebook app last night. It doesn't mean I don't have it on my computer. It just means I don't have it on my phone. Because yeah, I've done that before in my life, and I found that that's probably the only way that I'm going to stop from like mindless scrolling. And also, put this thing called Boomerang on my email to where I can actually pause emails from coming in and allow them all to come in at a certain time when I want to check my emails. So I'm trying to put some safeguards in for like the new year. I know that people that really need to get in touch with me, that I really care if they get in touch with me, they do have my phone number, right? So it's okay. Like I don't have to worry if they can message me through Messenger or that email. Do you have any best practices, Brett, for helping to eliminate distractions so that somebody can be strategically imbalanced in their personal life? Let's say with their daughter Maddie or whomever.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, the distraction thing is real, and that's it. So anybody who have kids, if
Yeah.
you got kids, especially particularly young kids, but this is like, so this is what, so I, like anyone, I struggle with my phone, and I took Facebook off my phone, but I'm trying to get more interactive on Instagram. I love speaking to audiences. I'm going to be honest. I'm not huge on the social media as far as I'm just like, really, I'm going to share that I struggle with it. I got to get over it. That's what I'm working on. But I'll end up looking at Instagram. I'm with my daughter. I'm looking at Instagram. So I tell her, it's like, hey, Yeah, she doesn't like it when I'm looking at Instagram with her. When I'm with her, it's like, you catch me looking on Instagram, you tell me. And I made her the cop of the house. You get ice, you get ice cream if you catch me on it. So, I mean that, but it's looking, you can define what you're being honest with yourself. You can define what your distractions are. Is it YouTube? Is it something electronic? Is it people? And really what I found is creating the cleanest work area I can, because then there's nothing vying for my attention. There's nothing trying to pull my eyes off the 8 ball. So having a clean work and organized work environment. Phone, we know that our phone's the biggest distraction. So can you create 1 hour phone voids where you kick it out? When I'm writing, sometimes when I'm writing, I get right into the flow. Sometimes I don't. So what I've done is I started with the 20-minute, so for 20 minutes. And I grew up playing sports. Sports have been my whole life. And so I'm used to a shot clock. I'm used to, like, things have to be done in this amount of time. We only got a minute left in the game. You got to, and then all of a sudden it brings forth this performance. So what I've done is a 20-minute revolving, 20 minutes on, 1 minute off. So 20 minutes, I'm in like the fourth quarter of a game. Then all of a sudden the timer goes off for a minute, get up, touch my toes, whatever I need to do. And then 20 minutes, I'm back in. I found when I do that, it's almost a 2-to-1. I can get as much done in 1 hour as I usually would in 2. And that's by doing 20-minute, 20-minute little things as an hour and 3 minutes or whatever it is. So even stuff like that, it makes me focus. It's like, shoot, I only got 10 minutes left. I can't check the phone. You kidding me?
That's good. That's good. Like time blocking, really, right? You know, just kind of, yeah, really good.
And I went from an
That's
hour
awesome.
to 45 minutes, and the 20 minutes just lit a fire for me. That was the one that made me just feel like, oh my God, like this is fourth quarter. This is second half. This has got to get done.
Very doable too, right? You know,
It
chunking
is.
it.
It
Yeah,
is.
really good. Brett, thank you so much for being
Awesome.
generous with your time and everything. Thank you.
Absolutely. And follow social media at Instagram at @bklika. On Facebook, it's Brett Klika Energy 100. And it's the same on YouTube, Brett Klika Energy 100. And
Yeah.
social media is going to be every day. If you haven't gotten on my mailing list, go to brettklicka.com. Every Friday, I send out a newsletter. So just opt in for the newsletter on brettklicka.com. Every Friday, a newsletter goes out, and it's just things to help you with everything we talked about today.
And Brett, I don't know whether it's like an ongoing thing or is it at the new year, but you have like an Energy 100 program coming out. Is it just ongoing where people can try to get involved, or is it like a certain
Ongoing.
time?
Yeah, so it's
Ongoing.
ongoing right now. I work with individuals, and that's what right now it's you're working with me, and it's a 100-day program, and we work together. It's a 10-day assessment period where I'm assessing everything from blood work, body fat, sleep patterns, exercise patterns, nutrition patterns, cognitive focus patterns, emotional awareness and intelligence patterns. We're recording things for 10 days, compile the data. We look at the data together, and we create a plan for 90 days. I'm keeping you accountable every single day. You have 2 or 3 things that every night you upload to a platform, yes or no. That's all I care about. I don't care about, well, I didn't because blah, blah. It's, did you do this or did you not? Because we both decided it was important. And then every 2 weeks we have a call and create a new plan. So over 90 days, you go from whatever you're struggling with right now, whatever habit, behavior, whatever's standing in your way, to habits that have essentially moved you to the new version of you in 90 days. And you look at that and you see there's no other way. There's no other way than success, because you got somebody every day to be accountable to. So that's what I'm doing right now. In the new year, there'll be a group program. Right now it's individual. In the new year, there'll be a group program. And I will be, when the group programs comes out, I will not be doing the individual anymore. So if that's something, if you want to move your income, you want to move your life, your health, whatever it is that you're struggling with, that's an opportunity. You just get on me at Brett at myenergy100.com or Brett at brettklicka.com, and I can give you more information. So it's Brett at brettklicka.com. You can find out more information on my website.
So good. Thank you, Brett. You're awesome. I
Absolutely.
really appreciate you. I respect
Thank you
you. I
so much.
appreciate that. You made an impact on me and other people here today. Thank you for
Well,
sure.
thank you, Travis. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Hey,
All right,
before,
folks.
all right, we'll see you, Brett. I just wanted to let you guys know, I mean, you're probably aware of it, but next Monday is Christmas and the following Monday is New Year's. What I do want to offer, I've done a couple calls with London Dairy. I did one with Ithaca, did it with Corning. We did some VTO stuff. Yesterday, I had a few people in here, even including Coach Emily, but Peggy Messer was here, Dave Vieira. We were doing some GSD. We kind of took like, which by the way, I did a shout out in the email, Janice, but I want to shout you out again. Right there live. I thought you did a great job with that. That's,
Oh, thanks.
yeah, thank you. And
It's a
I
tough
need
crowd, you know, but
it
they were
is a
good.
tough crowd. I'll tell you what, I do have some requests for the new year. I do. I'd like us to level up a little bit, right? Like come with our tiles on time. And it's okay, by the way. It is an optional call. Like, I mean, I'm not like making rules like you have to be here and you have to be like this. I'm just gonna say if you're gonna be here, be like this. And if you don't want to be like this, you don't have to be here. Right. Like it's like, like I know it's like she's like, I see you down there in the corner, your tile's off. I'm not sure if you can talk right now. And I'm like, oh yeah. See, now you know how I feel sometimes. I'm like, oh, but you did a great job. You did a great job, so
Travis, I was a regional director. I had lots of people on calls and I was like, just
yeah.
yeah, difficult sometimes. It's
Well,
hard. I
I'm
get it.
I heard JC say on the call, he said, I want to see some franchise growth in the new year. And, I'm excited. I think there's going to be a lot of that actually. And uh, I was thinking, well, we have to, uh, show them what we want from them in the new year as well, when more people get added to the calls, because it is very healthy. I love the fact that you guys share. And when we put the spotlight on somebody, it's like, oh, geez, I didn't think about doing that in my location. And if I do that, suddenly I'm more successful, right? So we do have some things that are very well organized and other things where I'd love to see just more the kind of engagement that we want to show these new franchisees, what we want from them. And of course,
When is California open?
what's that?
When is California opening?
They're searching hard for a property. I talk to him almost every Wednesday. I didn't speak to him last Wednesday. He's got a realtor on it, and he does text me occasionally different links and stuff. But as soon as he finds a property, I think we're getting closer. At one time, he was having a different realtor that was a little less on the ball, getting him stuff. But she's been getting him a lot of showings, so it's been good. Yeah. So narrowing it down. But yeah, we have somebody coming up from Jersey, January 20th. I recently had a conversation with Karen not long ago. I know she's meeting with somebody to have a discussion. And so she's out there where you guys are in New Hampshire. And then, of course, we have Andrew in California. And really just some plans to put some fire on all that. And so, yeah, excited for that. And but what I wanted to say, given the fact that Christmas is next Monday and then the following Monday is New Year's, is I think that we should all still meet on Christmas. And no, that's not what I was going to say.
Open our presents together.
Yeah. No, but I mean, if you guys want to do a separate call,
Yeah, let's do that because I want to see JC's kids open all the presents and stuff.
yeah,
So I think
right.
it'd be
Oh,
fun. I
running
need
around like
little,
crazy.
little kids.
Yeah, right. See all the wild Indians going, papers going in the air, and let's go. But if you want to hop on like a separate call, just like what I've been doing with the VTOs, and if you want to do any GSD stuff, I got my GSD about, I'd say 90% done. It's always kind of starting those questions and going back, hearing other people's answers and then rewriting. But if you want to, you guys have my link, or if you want to just shoot me a text, we can certainly hop on a call over the next couple of weeks and, do that kind of stuff together. Because I think it has a major impact on your success. Like, what are you going to become strategically imbalanced with? Well, it starts with maybe a VTO or a GSD where you're like, oh, these are my top goals. Okay. I love how Todd ended the GSD this year. He said, okay, so what's your action steps for these goals, right? Like, who do you need in your life to achieve this goal? So that's a really good way to break down those top 5 as well. So I think that when you take time to do that, so many things I put down on there, from writing books to speaking on different stages to opening different locations to becoming a franchise. You know, it's crazy what happens, what you bring into your world, what you manifest because you took time to put it down, you know. So let me know if I can be of any help to you. Otherwise, if I don't see some of you guys before, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Yes.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Anything else for the good of the Order of Phoenix from anyone else?
Merry Christmas, guys. Happy holidays.
Yeah. What did we say? Merry Christmas, Merry Fitmas, and a Happy New Year.
Yeah.
I like that little statement.
I'm not even waiting until January 1st to work on my new rear. I think I'll do a little bit this week, and December 26th. That's it. I'm like, good. All set. Let's go. Too many holiday parties. Throw me through a loop. All right. Well, have a great day, everyone.
All right, Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.